Welcome back to Berm Peak. I'm Seth, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different, kind of the same. We're going to be doing a Q&A. As you know, I have a Patreon account. We support Berm Park through there. Everybody who's on there is financing the build of a public bike park, but also from time to time I do Q&As for them, and this time I ask them the questions and I'm going to answer them here on YouTube. And so I'm just going to get started. Now, the first couple of questions came from BCPOV. He's a massive YouTuber that some of you have seen. Eric asked, how have you coped mentally with your injury? It seems like there's still some lasting effects. I was injured for 9-ish weeks last fall, and I had to take a break from creating content for my channel. Any advice? I'd like to say that I could give you advice on coping mentally, but I don't think I did so well. I was kind of a wreck this winter, and even to this day, I'm just starting to get back to normal. I remember early on in the injury, I was back in the hospital, and I remember the pain was so bad, I thought, okay, all I have to do is just wait another 4 hours and this is gonna be gone. I ended up being in that much pain for about 4 months. If you would ask me then if I was physically or mentally capable of dealing with that, I would have said there's no way I'd be able to get through it, but I did. And so my advice is just figure it out. Keep knowing it's not gonna be forever. Keep knowing that someday you will be back on the bike in some kind of capacity. Yeah, I do have lasting effects. I have nerve damage. I had tendons actually removed from my foot. Someday I should be able to ride exactly like I did. I should make a fullish recovery, but right now it is definitely affecting the way I ride and the way I live my life, and it's definitely been reflected by the content on the channel. So BCPOV also asked, what is your take on the perceived divide between YouTubers and the core mountain bike scene? For example, you're giving back to the community by creating a free bike park. There has been zero press coverage about this from the core mountain bike media outlets like Pink Bike and Vital. Maybe I'm reading into this a little too much, but it feels like gatekeeping. What do you think? Is it just a matter of keep doing awesome stuff until they can't ignore you anymore? So Berm Peak is a legitimate business, and while we're funding Berm Park through donations, we're also funding it through sponsors. And those sponsors, while they are doing something good for the community, it is understood that they're gonna get exposure by contributing to the bike park. And so if it was my guess, it's kind of difficult for Vital or Pink Bike to cover a project which is going to ultimately benefit sponsors that didn't pay them. The other possibility is that we're just competitors, right? I'm a mountain bike media outlet of some sort. They are, and so why are they going to cover something one of their competitors is doing? I know people who work at both, and they love covering interesting things, and they're good people, and I don't think they would just not cover it as gatekeepers. I think there's a legitimate issue at hand that would prevent them from doing so. So Martin asks, as a beginner, what bikes and gear would you recommend? And I think what a lot of beginners are looking for when they ask that question is for me to just give them a list of products and model numbers that they should get. I don't like doing that, and a lot of people don't like doing that because what works for me might not work for you. So I can give you a basic overview of what you should get. Now, first of all, if you're a beginner, you're gonna need a bike. I always recommend a hardtail for your first bike, and that's a bike with shocks in the front, but not on the rear. As a beginner, you're not gonna wanna invest as much into your bike because you don't know whether you're gonna keep doing it. And so a hardtail is usually a better option both on the used market and on the new market. There's less to maintain, it's a lower purchase price, it's just better for a beginner overall. Now after that, you're gonna need some gear, and I can kind of put it in the order of importance. I would say a helmet is gonna come first. There's a lot of trails you're not even gonna be allowed on without a helmet, and you should always wear one. You're also gonna need a floor pump because you're gonna need to keep the bike pumped up, and if you've ever used a hand pump on big mountain bike tires, not fun, so get yourself a proper floor pump with a gauge. I'd also strongly recommend a good multi-tool because a multi-tool is gonna have all the tools you need to do very basic repairs on the bike, and I find that a lot of beginners complain about saddle sores, just being really sore from sitting on the bike all day, and so padded shorts are gonna help you a lot. In fact, just mountain bike specific clothing is gonna wick moisture better, and it's just gonna be more comfortable. Not essential, but like I said, it's a comfort thing. So question from Jack. What pushed you to start YouTube, and how do you keep the motivation to edit and upload? Nothing pushed me to start YouTube. It happened like a lot of other people. It happened by accident. I started posting videos. I didn't think anybody was gonna watch them. They did, and the rest is history. But what keeps me motivated to continue doing it is it's my job. It's just, that's my schedule. That's what I plan to do this week. Now, I always try to push myself to get videos out on time, but lately I haven't been able to do that. For the first time in years, I put way too many irons in the fire. Berm Park, the Berm Peak Ranger Station. Now I have a baby daughter. I had the injury. A whole bunch of things happened at once, and now we're clawing our way back. But content should start to look a little bit more normal to you guys in the coming months. So question from Calvin, he asks, when do you plan on introducing Becca to biking? Now, Becca, of course, is my newborn baby daughter. She can't even walk yet, but when she starts walking or getting close to it, I'm probably gonna see if she has any interest in a balance bike. If she doesn't have interest in it, it's not like I'm gonna try an hour a day to like force her. I'm gonna gauge her interest on it and let her kind of take the reins from there. I'm gonna have the balance bike ready for her, but I'm not gonna force her into anything. So Cameron asks, best mountain biking event to go to? So I actually haven't been to a lot of mountain bike events. I'm not really an event person. The ones that were my favorite were Crankworks and Sedona Mountain Bike Festival. Sedona Mountain Bike Festival I really liked because it wasn't as much about the products as it was about the riding. Outer Bike in Moab was pretty fun, but the trails were kind of so far from the event you have to take a shuttle. Sea Otter is all about the products. It's always kind of exhausting to me, but worth going to if you really like products. Crankworks I was pleasantly surprised about. I didn't think I was gonna like it because it was gonna be really crowded, the lift lines were gonna be long. I saw all my friends and had a great time, and all the little events and things you can watch are really entertaining. If you live up in that area in the Pacific Northwest, I'd actually recommend you check out Crankworks. And that's about all I can say about events. Ali asked, will you be getting any new sponsors? A lot of people upvoted this one, and so I don't know. That's the answer to it. I like working with the same companies year after year. I like forming relationships inside the company. I get emails from people who want to do some kind of sponsorship deal all the time, and I refuse 99% of them. I don't make a lot of new deals very often, and I don't dump sponsors very often. I usually stick with the same people for a long time. So the answer is I don't know. So Emerson asks, your YouTube channel started in early 2015. Do you think the channel has become more about you than biking? More of a reality show mixed with bike stuff? I think it was always a little bit about me. In fact, it used to be Seth's Bike Hacks and now it's Berm Peak. I actually want to make it less of a reality show and more about biking, but over the last year, due to my injury, I kind of had to explore other avenues to make content. Now that I'm starting to get back into it, I can get out there more and we'll probably see it revert back to more biking stuff. This question is from Kiefer. What's been the hardest part of building the park so far? Of course, we're referring to Berm Park, the public bike park that everybody on Patreon is funding. So the hardest part in building Berm Park has been finding the time to do all the things. Planning, visiting the site multiple times. Sometimes not a lot happens when I visit. I gotta go back there a few days later. It has been so time consuming. The thing I learned the most was do not underestimate a project like that. In fact, me getting injured actually helped matters because I was just stuck, and over the winter I was really able to do a lot of the legwork for Berm Park because of that. I've also learned how many people are willing to jump in and help with a project like this if you make the first move. Because of the support that we got on Patreon, it got other people to jump in, and now not only do we have enough to build an entire park, we have enough to build the park of our dreams. All because everybody on Patreon took the risk and jumped in from the start. So Mr. Tonka, our friend Joe, asked, a common theme I hear when riding with you, as well as when you recently rode with Brian at Cayuga, is you miss riding. Are you going to make a plan, or have you made a plan to prioritize some ride time in your life? To some of you, it may sound weird that I haven't been riding, but yeah, since the injury, I didn't do any riding, and then I immediately had a newborn baby daughter, which there's a division of duties between you and your significant other when you have a kid, and you can't just be like, yeah, I'm going out for a ride, I'll see you a little later. I haven't had a lot of time to ride except for in videos when I'm forced to do it. I enjoy those little snippets of riding, and now things are sort of getting back to normal and I am starting to go on rides, and so yeah, there is a plan going forwards. When I don't get to ride regularly, it's kind of miserable. I mean, a lot of you guys know, like, if that's your outlet, if that's your way to work through problems mentally, when you can't do it, it's bad. It affects you very much. And so I'm really happy to be riding again, and I'm really happy that I can actually ride a little bit as part of my job. So thank you guys for making that possible. So RJ asks, how many people have you hired for Berm Peak? Can you show them all and tell us a little about them? I would like to know the whole gang behind the videos. Okay, so to answer this question, I should start by saying not everybody that works on a YouTube channel wants to be on YouTube videos. And so I don't want to like put everybody out there. So there's a mixture of people who I've actually hired and just contractors I use for certain things, like let's say artwork. There's lots of designers that are kind of off to the side. A lot of you also know that I hired Kevin full-time, and Kevin has been my friend for almost a decade now, and he's appeared in the videos from time to time, and he was helping out so much around here. I said, you know what? Maybe I should just hire you full time and let's like do this to the moon. Let's go full on. And with so many projects going on, when I'm editing, there's still things moving forwards. There's still work getting done. And so Kevin's been a tremendous help. He pretty much does everything that I can't do. We also have Curtis, who edits some of the Berm Peak Express videos. He actually lives over an hour away, and so he hasn't been editing them all now. I have another editor that I've been training, and he's gonna become a bigger part of how these videos get produced. But really, a lot of it's me. I edit all the videos that go on Berm Peak. I'm operating cameras, I'm coming up with the plans, I'm writing contracts, I'm answering emails. It's a lot. So question from Isaac. Hi Seth, I hope you're doing well. I was wondering what your most embarrassing crash or fall on or off trail was. Thanks. So that would probably be the one that wrecked my ankle. I was just with some friends and we were messing around, and all of a sudden I'm on the ground like, help, help, help. Paramedics came and they had to carry me out of there and like cut my knee pads off. It was pretty embarrassing. There was one that was actually worse. I bunny hopped over a fence in Fort Lauderdale and my back wheel caught it and I went over the handlebars and I ended up with a separated shoulder. That was pre-YouTube and it's pretty embarrassing. Question from Spoonless. Now that you have some machine cutting time under your belt, has your outlook on hand cutting trails changed? Does it feel more tedious now if you have to hand cut a section of trail without the help of your thumb bucket mech suit? Well, for me, machine cutting has just become another tool in the arsenal. Some sections are just better to cut by hand. There's gonna be sections on thumb bucket that we cut by hand. I'm really happy to have another tool, and I think my eyes have been open to how all that can be used together to make a better trail overall. Cody Dean asks, what is your favorite non-processed lumber material to work with for features on Berm Peak? So when you're building stuff outside, especially on the East Coast where it rains a ton, you have to use some kind of lumber that is rot resistant. You have to use either treated lumber, which you can get from the store, or you can use rot resistant lumber like cedar, black locust, redwood. My favorite is white oak. White oak's a little easier to cut. It's a little easier to drill into. If I can find a big fallen white oak tree with lots of good usable wood, then I'll mill it down and use it. But if not, I can get this black locust from my local sawmill for a pretty decent price. Now, on the topic of lumber, it has more than tripled in cost in some places since the beginning of the pandemic. Some of that's due to the building boom, some of that's due to supply. Yeah, we're gonna be seeing a lot more using of materials on Berm Peak if lumber prices stay the way they are. So Martin asks, what do you see yourself doing in the next coming years? So in the immediate years to follow this one, I'm gonna be making content for sure. I mean, this is pretty much my career now. But I have a little one now, and so I wanna be able to spend some time raising her. And so I'm gonna have to figure out how to make it all work. Like for instance, hiring Kevin. I'm not gonna be able to do it alone. And so I see myself growing this business that is Berm Peak in different ways. For instance, the Berm Peak Ranger Station is part of that, and I don't think there's only gonna be one of those. Now, in the immediate future, I wanna transition from this pandemic, injury, way too many projects, to getting back to what we do best here, and that is building features like this one. That's why we're building Thumb Bucket. Thumb Bucket is here so that we have a big canvas to build all sorts of features. I'm looking towards the immediate future more so than anything else. So if you've watched this far, thank you. And if that is the case, you're probably more interested in this channel than the average person. And so I'll give you a little bit of inside information about my injury. Over the weekend, I had my first crash. It wasn't a big crash, I just slipped out on some roots, but that was my first crash since the injury, and I put my foot down really hard, and I was fine. I'm really, really happy that crash happened, and actually it gave me a lot of confidence. It made me realize that my ankle's not just gonna roll and fall apart, and while it does get sore after riding for a while, I think I'm on the path to getting back on that slopestyle course. I'm really thankful to so many of you that have continued to watch, even with the change up in content. We did everything from RC cars to robotic vacuums, and you guys continued watching. And so from the bottom of my heart, I really thank you for that, because we wouldn't be able to continue doing this if you didn't watch. For now, I'm just excited to get back to doing what we do best. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, and thanks for riding with me today. I'll see you next time.